What's going on?
Hey y'all.
City on the Hill once again with another episode for y'all. Let's go.
Okay, 90s.
Oh,
Let's
wait.
go.
Another episode. All
Hey,
right.
Pat the Frat.
There you go.
He got his shirt on today
Fred on
too.
the- That's right.
Well,
Support the HBCUs, man,
Y'all,
always.
yeah, y'all know what it is. Welcome back to another episode of City on the Hill. We your people. We your
Hey,
family.
hey, y'all.
yeah. Appreciate the support. Hey, we got another topic. Before we get into that topic, let's keep it real on the hill as we always do.
What's the real on the hill?
I forgot, Chad.
All right.
Oh, the real on the hit. I'm thinking about the topic. That's why I'm already like there.
It's
Okay,
cool.
thank you.
So real on the hill. I went to go get some Dutch Bros today. I don't even know if we should say, and we ain't got no sponsors yet. God, if that shit will be done. But went to go get some coffee this morning. Y'all know how these places you go,
The coffee place.
the coffee places,
Okay.
they're food places, and they're very much, I guess they get fined. I don't know what. Like if they don't greet you and they don't have a conversation with you, like that's what they do.
They very much friend.
Huh?
They very much friend at work.
I guess. But y'all, it's 6 something in the morning. I don't be feeling like talking. I'd have been to this place a couple times, so they know my face or whatever. But I see somebody at the window I don't know, and he just started. So where are you going? I got on my uniform, bro. Where you think I'm going? In my head,
Po baby.
out my mouth, I was like, "Hey, I'm going to work, man. This and that." But I bring this up. What type of conversations annoy y'all? It can be anything. What type of conversations annoy y'all that you have to say, Lord, I'm finna abide by you?
I don't like conversations that are how the weather is getting I don't like small talk. I'm not I'm ready to jump in the deep end. What you got? Okay? So I am not a how's the weather where you are. It's fine. You got anything else? If we're not talking, and that might be a flaw. So I am not saying to all of the people who are how's the weather type people, I am not saying that those conversations aren't productive in some way. I am saying I prefer to jump in the deep end. That's all. You know, they teach you, like when you're doing, I just did it again, but they teach you in communication to start with smaller conversations to get going. I don't know how to do that. I'm not good at that. So, yeah, I'm not a small talk kind of person. So I give one line answers when people try to small talk.
We gonna call them HTWs, how the weather folks. Go ahead.
I got one real quick. I don't like early in the morning calling calls about bad stuff that happened in the news. I'm not gonna name this person, but I have a close family member
Friend, no.
who would call like super early in the morning, especially on the weekend when I'm in my good sleep. Call and say, "Hey, did you hear that such and such that they stealing children and telling the children to smoke cigarettes or something?" I don't know. It's just really negative talk, and I'll be like, "No, I didn't see that. I didn't even know about that." You need to stop watching TV so much in the morning. I am asleep. I haven't even had my morning coffee at that moment. But you calling me about stuff that I really don't care. I don't care. I'm asleep. I'm asleep at this moment. I'm asleep. So maybe small talk like that. I can't.
Yeah,
My family member need to stop that.
she's not.
No,
I mean,
she needs to stop.
see?
Well, you already said you understand it. You already said she. I'm just reaffirming that it's a she.
It's a lot of sheep. It's a lot of
She
sheep.
needs to stop. Don't do that. Ugh.
I'm a morning person. So I am the person that will, when I see my patients, I'm like, and it's 8 o'clock. That's what time we start. And I'll say, well, what you got going on this weekend? And they'll start talking. But in the morning time, I don't like to get those calls either, Pat. And I don't like calls like, do you remember this person? And they try to make you remember somebody. And you like, I don't know the people. And I say it that way. Like, I don't even live there. Like, I don't know. So I don't be knowing, like, sometimes some things I do know, but some things I do not know. And I just be like, I'm just a morning person anyway. So the small talk thing, I'm opposite. I can talk or not talk. It won't bother me either way. But
Nah, I said this morning, but in general, I'm like Ella, like I don't like being asked, what am I doing this weekend? I don't like being asked, how was this weekend? What did you do this weekend, Sergeant Jones? I did whatever I did. But I have to, yeah, man, just another weekend, man. I mean, like, that's it. So you want me to reciprocate this question that I don't ask, because what is the point of this question? We just talking to be talking now. Not, hey, I'm asking you this because of X.
you can always just come back and be like, just living a dream.
No, but that again, now I'm contributing to the pointless conversation.
Just the other day, I said, I wish you could just come to work with me and like sit there and watch me all day. My husband probably would be like, after an hour, he'd be like, all right, I'm done. Y'all do with her all day long.
Your world,
But
squirrel.
no, it's that small talk that gets you. Like I told Pat, I said the next person that asks me because they trying to strike up a conversation. The next person that asks me, so what do you do? My best. That's it. That's all I'm gonna tell you. I do my best.
Now, that's petty.
Is it? Because it's true. I do my best every single day. I give my best.
If they ask, like, what did you do this weekend? My first thought is something deep. They ain't trying to hear that. So if I give it to you, hey man, God has been speaking to me this week.
I went through the drive-through at Starbucks and a guy started talking to me about a movie that I saw some things that I would love to discuss, but he was trying to talk on the light level, and I'm like, I really want to get into it, but it's people behind me, and I can't have this small talk conversation with you because there's some inconsistencies in this movie that I want to discuss, but you can't go there. But you want to see that is the problem, and that's why I'm saying it's equally annoying to people who are, how's the weather when they talking to somebody who wants to expound. It's like, man, I done moved on. I'm just ready to. I'm asking you how's the weather, and that's it. I don't need to know about clouds and the science behind it. I didn't ask you all that. So I know that it can be equally annoying.
I mean, I love it. I love a challenge. So we do something at our job, and we do a morning huddle, and we try to gauge our patients to see, this person, their demeanor is like this or like that, whatever. And I always get one with a challenge. Oh, she don't really talk that much. She don't like. Good morning. I knew you were coming in today to see me. How you doing? How was your week? And then they just start talking. And then by the end of it, everybody like, well, they was talking.
But I think that's different. I think that's different because you're trying to get something out of them. Mm-hmm. Most people, cool, I seen you Friday, now I'm seeing you Monday. Hey, so what'd you do this weekend? If I say I cut grass, I coach. Okay. Like there's no point.
So why you ask?
You have a point in what you're doing. You're trying to. That's what I'm saying. Like, why are we here, dog?
Emo stuff.
But
That's a different thing.
I think Fran's personality is helpful for people who might have my personality or have your personality virus, because while she can help break, it is a break the ice type situation, because there's a sense of, I need to just get my mind together. I think most people think you just being mean or No, I got to get my mind together first thing in the morning. I don't want to be chatty Cathy in the morning. However, if there's somebody who has a personality like Fran, who is just genuinely joyful from the start, it takes us a minute to rev up to joy. So it's like she's from the start. Her and Pat out the gate, joy. But I think it's helpful for somebody like that to be in your atmosphere. So that I don't mind. But it's the, like I said, it's the house of weather type people that does something to me. No, she's a yapper. In the morning, she's a yapper.
Oh.
Cause in driving, movies, I like silence. I want to watch the movie in silence. I want to drive in silence, especially in the morning. I don't want to talk, but we have a beautiful child who is a yapper.
And you be like, ugh.
And after she get out the car, I call Pat and be like, "Why your daughter talk so much? What does she have to say? She should be getting her brain together for school." Opinion. That's all I got for that. That y'all want real on the hill. That's real on the hill.
Hey,
That's what it is. I guess I'm chat Kathy, and that's why me and Pat always make the breakfast. And Marcel gonna be like,
I mean, okay, before we move on, y'all know I love y'all. I love when we together. And if I be upstairs and I come down, I'll be like, oh, how long y'all been up here talking?
Fran has washed a load of clothes before anybody hit the floor. She up playing gospel music. She might be listening to a sermon, because one time I came out, a sermon from YouTube was playing. I was like, oh, okay.
And I'm like, we family, but this still their house.
But you know what? That's what I love about Fran. She has been that way since day one. If she come here, no, I know. If she come here, she gonna be up, and her and Pat have already planned out what's gonna be cooked. Cause she probably had asked me the night before, what you got, what we cooking, and she gonna be playing music and or listening to a sermon at the same time. The laundry room is in use, and Pat is on the ones and twos with the coffee.
and the pine sol is going.
And the pound salt, oh, and the bleach is going.
Hey, hold up. We about to transition.
Okay.
Your eyes are like you squinting. Yeah. But don't squint. I don't know if like you trying to see. That's what
I was like this.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
But I don't need to see because I can see. It's just a habit. Okay, so I'm not gonna do like this.
Okay. I was put your glasses back on. Hey, put your glasses back on.
Put your glasses on.
You know what I'm talking about.
Forget about the glare. We got you.
You can't see.
You can't see. Put your glasses on.
We giving this.
Hey, you on one today?
No.
Okay, I was just gonna say I don't even think you want to do this.
Go ahead, boss. We good. Let's go.
With that, some of us don't like to cooperate in the morning with certain things, right? And that might challenge us. Which brings us to our topic for this week: cooperating in your transformation. As we go through life, and as we you know what City on the Hill is, we shine a light, and we want to be authentic and transparent with our walk. It ain't like it's easy all the time. And it not just the walk and the constant, I'm gonna say, challenges, the call to actions, the call to not act, the whatever. I'm listening to this book by John Eldredge called Walking with God. One of the things that he talks about is this. He uses his personal experience. He goes on a vacation to just kind of get away from everything that he's been dealing with all throughout the months, year, blah, blah, blah. So it's his personal time, his sabbatical, so to speak. And so he gets there to rest, but the first thing that he's thinking about is, I can paint, I can teach my son something, I can take him fishing, I can teach him how to do this, I can fix the gate, I can fix the fence. And it starts pouring down raining. And so as he's going there to rest, he says he gets there and he's thinking about all the stuff that he can do, but now he's hit with a rainstorm and he's frustrated because he can't do anything. So he can't stop thinking about all this stuff. And as he is going through and he's relating this point, he says, well, maybe the downpour, he says, as I'm getting frustrated, God starts talking to me and showing me, like, this is why you're here. You're so distracted with so many things and all this that you're missing the opportunity to cooperate in your transformation. So, and when I heard that, it was like, pause the audio book and send out a sermon to everybody you know. Didn't do that. But how often do we not cooperate in our transformations? What do y'all think about that?
I think that was a good. He made a clear point, and he made a good point, and he was very observant of his surroundings. Really took it to heart. Like, he wasn't just like, oh, it's raining, and stay in the moment of, oh, it's raining. He saw something better than the rain. Like, he was getting answers from the rain because it's raining. Sometimes things can happen and we can stay stuck right there of, I don't know, oh, we overspent on the budget. But at the end of the day, okay, how do we rectify this? Do we have what we need? We can't do nothing about. He couldn't do nothing about the rain. So the things that we can't do anything about, we tend to stay stuck on. It keeps our focus instead of looking outside of the box, as people would say.
I think about, in terms of like cooperating in our transformation, I liken that to, if you hire a builder to build a new home for you, you're looking at the layout and you're trusting that this builder is skilled to do exactly, to carry out your vision, right? To see this thing manifest and come up to fruition. It's different when you hire somebody to do a job and you can see it being done and you haven't put your hands to it. You haven't put in any work. You haven't laid a brick. You haven't set the foundation. But we have seen in like some of these reality shows, you see where people participate in the building of their dream home. They actually go and they see the progress, but they don't just see it, but they get their hands dirty, so to speak, too. They help with the framework. They help with things like the lighting. They participate in the building of that home because it makes you, that means that you are a part of that journey towards creating something beautiful. So when we are in this relationship with God, and it's not just a basic relationship, we're in a relationship with God where we're saying, I want to see what you're doing and I want to play my part. I don't know all the things that the architect knows. I'm not that skilled. But what I can do is play my part. If the architect tells me, put a brick here, I can follow those directives. If the architect says, well, this wire has to go here, and he allows me to play a role in that, I can do that. As long as I have the proper directives, I can do what the builder or the architect is saying to do. And that's me playing a role in what will become my home, something that I will appreciate. So when we think about cooperating in our transformation, it's really like you're getting in there and you don't know all the intricacies. You don't know that. But what you do know and what you can trust is the architect. I can trust God with my life. I can trust him with my journey. He's done it before for other people. And we have so much evidence of your skill and your mastery. So I can trust that you got this under control. So all I got to do is get directives from you on what I should do and have complete dependency in your skill set and your mastery, because it's far above what mine is. That's what I think about.
I think what both of y'all said leads to something he said. He says God always has his eye on your transformation. So there's a level of, like, for me, I want to know, God, I know you got this plan for me, or I don't know, but I'm trusting you. But when I don't see movement, so we trust in the builder to build it, but we ain't there every day. We don't see it. So we've been overseas, different places, and people building or whatever the case is. We was in Cali and they was building in Georgia, and we was calling the realtor, like, everything good, this and that, and cause we want to know. But if we trust the architect, we trust the builder, it makes it easier. The difference between man builder and God building, God constructing, is the builder of the house wants to do a good job for them. God wants to do a work and a transformation for us. And that is something that I don't know a lot of people, regardless of where they stand, like trust God and like constantly thinks you have my best interest in mind, even when it don't feel good. Even when the transformation calls me to do stuff I don't want to do, like talk to people in the morning. Well, like, why? Well, I'm trying to mold you to have a servant's heart. I want to have compassion, to do all that. If I trust that you have the ultimate goal for my character, my development, and I hate saying mine when it comes to like stuff of God, but just making this personal. There is I'm not doing this as God. I'm not doing it because I need it. I'm doing it because you need this. I'm doing this because you need to know what I look like, I feel like, I smell like, I am. You have to know that. So just I don't know, just keeping that in mind, that God's eye is always on our transformation, even when we don't see it.
I think being able to, when it comes to transformation, especially when it comes from your heart, transforming your thought process, your mind process of how you look at things or you doing things, being able to be present with him could be a way that we are like really trying to walk the way God wants us to walk. Doing certain things that you thought you was used to, like even like your daily routines that you used to do back in the day. Then all of a sudden you're doing something different. You're like, whoa, wait a minute, where did that come from? I wasn't doing that before. And it's like, why am I doing this? What in what way that I changed to do something different that would make my life better, make the way I speak to people better, the way I love better, or love our spouse, or even dealing with our children. What am I doing to make things better, to make me better for everybody else? And to kind of stand on that and being able to build from there. Even the way we, talk to people, even the way we seeing where everybody, well, not that way, but being able to even speak with certain people that we probably don't even care for. You know what I'm saying? Being able to just really have our minds on certain things that we do, and being able to just see that and being able to build from that over a period of time. It probably won't be like immediate. Some people don't get it immediate, but over time, just putting those extra little things to kind of just be like, okay, I used to do this, but I don't do that now. Being able to think this way, but I'm not thinking about those thoughts now.
You said something, Pat, you just made me think about it. Transformation, we would all agree, like transformation has to do with change.
Go ahead.
So what do y'all feel about people? It's not just two different type people, but you commonly hear one of these, I ain't changing, I'm gonna be me. Or you hear, this is just how I am. What do y'all say about that, those mindsets, when it comes to cooperating in transformation?
To be honest, I think everyone has been in that mindset. Certain things you're like, well, this is just me. This is how I'm gonna do this, or whatever. But as you grow and Christ grows within you, and you see different things, you see the things that you are not, when you're not committed to the transformation, it's a sign of disobedience. Because God is telling you who you are, but you're trying to tell him who you are and why you're not changing.
Right.
Then you're inevitably trying to figure out, well, why isn't what I need to happen, or this is happening, or that is happening, because you keep trying to tell God who you are, and he has told you who you are. And what you say don't matter. What he says matter, because he knew you, as the scripture says, before he placed you in your mother's womb. Yes, we are born into sin. Yes, we pick up all of these things because of our environment. But honestly, we have all been there. Oh, that's just me. I ain't doing that. I'm from here. I don't do that right there. I ain't doing that. That's I don't do that right there.
I'm from
That
Duval
ain't
County.
right. Like, you say those things, but then
Guilty.
when you look back at some of that stuff, you like, I sounded real childish. Like, so God, I'ma really tell you, because this is how I talk.
Ooh, go ahead.
Like, God, I'm like, when you get to that place and you're like, God, I'm really trying to tell you who you created me to be.
But you know what it is? You said it's childish. It's immature.
It's immaturity, because you haven't matured to that level yet. So it's a act of immaturity. Your transformation is lifelong, okay? And during that lifelong transformation, things happen. You go through things, you have setbacks because of being disobedient or not having knowledge or being ignorant. Ignorance is a lack of knowledge in a certain area. So we are all ignorant in some area of our life. So if someone tells you that they're not, then okay, we just say okay and then we move on. But at the end of the day, it's one of those things that you really have to have those conversations with God. You get to a point where you start really speaking to him, and you like, I can't believe I'm sitting up here trying to tell you who I am, and you already told me who I am, and you're trying to show me who I am, but I'm so stuck in my ways that I want to do things my way. So that is a sign of when God is telling you something and you're doing the opposite, that is disobedience. That's clearly what it is.
Yeah. What you're saying kind of takes me back to Job. Pat and I were talking about this yesterday. Like, when you read Job and you go through this long process of hearing all of the things that were going on, and then when you get to the point where God just finally steps in and he says what he has to say, and he asks, where were you when? And it's putting Job back in his place, even though he didn't ask for any of the stuff he went through and all of that. It was bad. But it had gotten to the point, it's almost like I can see God saying, all right, enough. Hush. Because where were you when I created the heavens and the stars? Did you do X, Y, and Z? Did you do all of these things? Like, putting him in check. And so I believe that there are times where we have to, not there are times, all the time, we have to submit our ignorance to God's wisdom. And we have to be able to admit, I am a fool without you. I would do, I would say, I would be absolutely foolish without you. And I'm saying this from Ella's heart. There are things that I do when I'm going in my own mind that I know doggone well God would not instruct me to do that. And I know when I'm being rebellious or disobedient, or I'm just trying to lean to my own understanding versus walking with him for direction. The biggest thing that I've shared with our family since the start of this year, when we had our family meeting, I said, I just hear God calling for dependency. Because normally people feel like you can do things by yourself. I can handle certain decisions. I can handle certain places and spaces by myself. But slowly but surely, and sometimes it ain't even slow, sometimes it's real quick, gotta run up on me and be like, you can't do this without me. I had a phone call today, a situation that literally will cause me to like be a little snappy. And I got the message and I waited. Normally, I would say, oh, I know how I'm going to handle this. I know what I'm going to say. And God said, wait a minute. Just wait. Pause. And I waited 20 minutes. And I called Pat. Of course, I vented. And I said, Pat, I want to offer compassion. I don't want to make it seem like it's this or that, but it has to be addressed, but it got to be addressed the right way. And so the person and I got on the phone and we actually talked, and it wasn't rah, rah, I'm going to get you, you go get me. It was, we're adults. We talked it out and it was done. But without that guidance, without me listening and having this dependency on God, I would have went in with the rah, rah, rah and shut it down in Ella's way, and it would have been a mess. It still would have been a mess. And so I think we have to understand that there is nothing in us that wants to be good first. Everything about us wants to be jacked up first. That's our first notion. I don't care how good you think you are, how good you say you are. Your first notion is to do the opposite of what God would do. And so our dependency on him, the fact that we need him to guide and lead us, has to be acknowledged and made known to him. God, I surrender my foolery to you. I submit to your wisdom, because without you, I'm a dead woman walking. And I think we have to just acknowledge we have to have him. We need his guidance, because otherwise it's like your children. Would you let them go out and do all kinds of things? And I'm talking about underage. Would you just let them go out and do whatever? And even if they're grown and out of your house, 9 times out of 10, they'll still call you for guidance, because they know you know better. If they smart, they're going to call you and ask you about certain things. And there are things that children that are under our roof, we would never just let them do on their own. And we're hoping that they'll come to us. And I believe that God stands in wait and hoping that we will come to him, because he knows best. That's my take.
There's ignorance and then there's ignoring.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times people don't see the difference. So you already communicated the ignorance piece, but then there's that, well, I hear the knocks or feel the tap on the shoulder, I ain't doing it. It's funny you bring up, you said you had a call. In the section before, Mr. Eldredge talks about, he outlines a situation where he is about to delete an email that he has every right to send. Of how what this person did was wrong, and he's like, I'm ultimately, like you said, like, I can get you. And he says, there's a still voice, and Pat, this is where I'm gonna come to you with a question after this, but there's a still voice, and it's like, don't send it. And he's like, and it's like he's on a fast break, just like on the steel, and you about to get a slam dunk, and the ref blow the whistle, and you like, come on, I had the right away. And he's like, delete the email. And he said in that moment, he couldn't even battle. He knew why there was a pause. But the thing is, a lot of people don't even get that email notification in their mind to, hey, delete that. And then are you sure you want to delete it comes before that, and they like, nah, I ain't deleting this, and I'm going to go ahead and send it. And you miss what God is calling you to. So Pat, my question to you, for those who, because I think we've been mainly speaking about those who can hear God or understand, God's direction, but those who don't, who just feel like I'm just being me, or I'm just doing my thing, or I don't know if I should or shouldn't. Have you ever experienced that? And if so, how would you tell somebody else to deal with that?
Man, yes, plenty of times. There have been, oh man, some work issues. I know we was working, I think this was probably when we was in the city of Augusta, and old boy, you know what I'm talking about. And
When somebody say "oh boy," like
old boy, you know exactly what I'm talking about. We have to work. We have to do certain stuff a certain way to get things done in the occupation that I'm at, and he just would not listen. He does not listen. And, hard head and make a soft behind. And he just kept, okay, we being real, right? We being real. You keep pushing that button on me. And a lot of my friends, family, you keep pushing that button. I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not gonna say anything. But you keep pushing it. Keep pushing it. You kept pushing that button. And then all of a sudden, I just exploded. I'm like, hey man, you don't even know what you're talking about. You don't even know what you're doing. You say all of this, you older, but you think that you know everything and you don't know a doggone thing. And he is trying to battle with me and stuff. We always had some battles and stuff. I'm gonna be honest. I was trying to punch him in the throat one time, but I couldn't do that because I was losing my I would lose my job. I would lose my job. But it's got to be a God thing, man. To avoid certain things of that nature, it has to be a God. I know I want to keep it real. I know, I know I want to go off, but like, is this the best thing that I need to do? And I'm always the type of person. Okay, if I do it, what would happen? And I'm seeing thoughts in my mind and visions and say, well, this could happen, but this would, if I don't do this would happen. And it end up being a better, as much as I have the right to, if I did go that way or go a different way, I don't know what may happen. But 9 times out of 10, it's probably wouldn't be all right. Even with certain stuff with family members, getting different confrontation with family members that we all have been a part of. It's yeah, hey, I can tell you off. I want to, but what would it solve? And sometimes, as much as we hear that phrase, being a bigger person, yeah, okay. But a lot of times we don't want to. Because being that bigger person is going to be better for you and better to you than if you just pop off or do anything that's outside of who you really are. You understand what I'm saying?
I think that coming because I'm not too far away from it, I think that hearing and ignoring, like Javar said, is something totally different. There are times often where you feel like somebody playing in your face. You feel like, okay, really, like this is what we doing. And especially when you're walking with Christ and you're trying to do right and you're being conscious, and then you feel like, oh, I can't say nothing because now I'm thinking of, if I say something to you, I don't care about you. I'm talking about if God come back and get me right now after I say what I say to you, and I don't have enough time to say, Lord, please forgive me. That's gonna be on my hand. When I get to them, wherever it is, pearly gates or however it goes, I don't know. But they're not asking me about the sins of Javaris. They're not asking me, they're going to say, why did you respond that way? I don't care how he responded. Why did you respond that way?
Yeah.
So when we do things like you said, Ella, like God is our parent. And so when we think that we got it all together, even in this physical realm, we all have children and we do the same thing with God. Sometimes we think we got it together. We don't need you to tell me nothing. I'm going to do it my way. But then how God is just like us as parents. He let us go ahead and cut the food and do everything that you're going to do. And then at the end of the day, when you done wore yourself out because you ain't had nothing left, because you done did it your way for so long, he there saying, come on, baby. Come on. I've been covering you this whole time. I got you. I know what you was gonna do. We tell our kids that all the time. I already knew what you was gonna do. It is hard for some to hear who aren't there yet. And that's okay, because we ain't always been there. But when you do hear that voice, where you have that on the inside, when it's like, I don't think that's a good idea. That's the voice of God. That's your unconscious mind. That's your conscious mind, however you want to put it. When you about to do something and somebody say, something told me not to do that. That was the Holy Spirit. That is what that's called. Something told me not to do that. Now I done did this and look at the aftermath. And just because you feel validated to say or do something does not mean it makes it right for you to go and do it.
It's a lot of people, and I ain't trying to, no, it is what it is. It's a lot of people in the grave because of that. Was it worth my pride? Was it worth my life for me to stand up to being disrespected? Or I just gotta do whatever. And again, it's not to say you're supposed to just be rolled over or whatever. We gotta be wise, but like, let's make it super tangible current day. People are getting killed in road rage incidents because they can't just sit there and be like, all right, they cut me off or they did whatever and whatever. Like, I'm seeing people driving, shooting like birds, like a mile up the road, all because we can't sit there and cooperate in the transformation, right? And so I want to give an example, personal example. Pat, you gave one. I'll just be honest. At work, I'm in a different position, but the place I was in, I felt like I was not given the opportunities. I was not heard. My skills just was not being utilized. And some of the leadership, they had this negative view about me. And I'm belligerent, disgruntled. I'm always challenging stuff in a negative way. And I'm like, no, I'm just trying to figure out the answers. But during this process, I was getting closer to God. And a lot of people got to realize when you are trying to walk in righteousness, even if you don't know it's righteous, I'm just trying to do right. I'm trying to watch my time. I'm trying not to be who I used to be. And for those of us who know I'm trying to walk as God has called me to walk, there is either the enemy tests you or life just ends up happening in such a way that you're going to be tested to see if you're really about what you say you about. And in this, it was like God was calling me to serve. Well, God, I'm trying to show my leadership and help. Okay, I didn't say that's wrong, but I'm still calling you to serve. And in the service, in my situation was just, okay. Even though you know they talk and treat other people different than you, even though you know they do X, even though you know what is the right way to do, your response is what I'm looking at. Because how can you be as great of a leader as I'm calling you to be if there is a little bit of pride that you ain't paid attention to because you don't want to sit there and just chalk up the L? Which it's not your L, but it's the pride of like, man, whatever. And how does that look like for me? We gonna be real. It looks like now I disconnect. I don't say nothing. And it's not the disconnect because I'm trying to figure it out and it's the, well, then y'all do whatever y'all want then. and God is like, here. So I'll say this, and I want to pass it to y'all. This is where, to me, it's the downpour of rain that Mr. Eldredge talks about. Where sometimes God will cause the downpour, and now you either got to sit in it, and you got to figure out what you can't do, or you're going to continue to do stuff and you're going to mess things up worse. So how do we respond when downpours come where we can't do it on our own or the way that we want to do it?
Self-control. Gotcha. When you lack self-control, and this is a person that I'm telling you, when you lack self-control and become emotional, you are about to tear something up. And sometimes when you lack self-control and you're about to tear something up, sometimes it's not fixable. And in life, you get tired of being the one who's always tearing stuff up and then leaving it for everybody else to fix. So once you get tired, it's just like a child. You done been playing all day long, and I told you to sit down. I told you to stop jumping, and now, look, you done failed. And now all of us got to figure out what's wrong, what you done broke. So you have to, in those times, you have to have that self-control, because you will get tired of tearing things up over and over and over again. And what happens when you continue to tear those things up? because you lack self-control, because you can't handle your mouth, or you act like, oh, I can't, let me not go right here because I might say something. That's not self-control. That's not discipline. That is, you don't want to be held accountable. So at the end of the day, what happens if you lack that self-control and it remains broken and now ain't nobody fixing it?
Yeah.
I mean, how many times can keeping it real go wrong? Like, we gotta think about that. I hear a lot in some of the spaces that I used to be in, some of the spaces that I can't avoid because sometimes it's family. A lot of people are okay with just being, this is, like you said earlier, this is just who I am. And I used to subscribe to that. I will not lie. I used to subscribe to, this is just how I am. But I had to realize that that was more so of a defense mechanism of me defending myself, of me being a person that is naturally gentle, but often that gentleness was taken advantage of because the enemy knows how to pervert everything that's good. So if gentleness is a natural part of how God created me to be, and I'm in situations where I feel like I have to not be gentle, I have to be hard, now I am convinced that I'm tough. And I'm not saying that I'm not strong, because tough and strong, two different interpretations. And it's expressed differently. But I have had to learn that keeping it real or just being, quote unquote, how I am isn't serving me. How many times has keeping it real gone wrong for you, Ella? And I believe that a lot of people should use that sentence and count up the cost of how many times you have kept it real in your life, or a situation that went wrong, it wasn't handled properly, that relationship is now destroyed, that opportunity is now destroyed. You know, your reputation from that perspective is now destroyed because you were hell bent on keeping it real. That was the important part. And I look at situations now where everybody is okay with representing something other than God. I'm going to represent my city. I'm going to represent my hood. I'm going to represent my school. I'm going to represent my frat or my sorority. I'm going to represent this or that. Nobody's okay with representing. I ain't going to say nobody. That's not a true statement. A lot of people are not okay with representing God and the kingdom. So when I think about having a kingdom mindset, I think about the things that I have put aside for the sake of keeping it real, and now I have to pick back up because I want to walk this walk with you, God. I want to be what you called me to be. I want to walk in that gentleness that I laid aside so long ago. I want to walk in that, and I don't want to feel like somebody's going to take me as a punk or a pushover if I'm not being tough or having this exterior. I want to be exactly who you call me to be, but I also want to be firm when you call me to be firm. And I don't feel like you have to be, I'll say it like this. There's a running thing in my family and amongst some of my siblings particularly, where in order to get a point across, or in order for people to know, like, yeah, I'm not the one or the two, you have to be a little bit sassy, and you got to come across a little bit hard, I guess you would say, but
Defensive.
you have to come across as if off the rip, like off at the,
Like,
at
you
the
stay
pull of the
on 10.
curtain.
I'm the
Yeah,
alpha.
yeah.
Right. Yeah, you on 10. You stay
On
ready.
10 all the time, like staying ready. Already, that was a thing. I'm always ready. But I realized that attitude for me as I got older, especially with having children, that didn't serve me. It really didn't serve me at all. I will share this. My daughter and I, we were at a hair salon. I took her in to get something done to her hair, and the stylist was extremely rude. I don't know what the issue was. We came in smiling, we was being nice, but at the end of the day, she didn't give what we asked for. Now at that time, Ella had the OWN ready, situation locked and loaded. When I saw her hair and the lady was like, she's done. Done with what? What happened? So I'm ready to fly off the handle. My baby's crying. School start the next day. I'm livid at this point. I'm ready to call my mom. I'm ready to call my brothers. I'm ready to call everybody. I'm ready to call the whole Calvary. Like, let's go. And when I'm in this, I'm in the midst of popping off, as we say. But I look to the side and I see our daughter. And I see her looking at me going off. And I immediately, in that moment, while I'm still angry, I'm livid. The lady is wrong. We didn't do anything to deserve what she did to her hair. But it was a public display of how much I lacked self-control. And my daughter saw it. And while I had a right to be angry, I didn't have a right to cut up the way that I did. Because I was ready to haul off across the counter. Like, I was ready to be physical because of this disservice that occurred. And it taught me that now you are, number one, you represent something higher than this situation. Two, you've got a daughter looking at you on how to conduct yourself when situations don't go the way that you want them to go. And that was a difficult lesson to learn, but it showed me. And I believe that there are times that God will show you yourself and how much keeping it real can go wrong. Thinking that you got it together and you don't. Because I don't know that lady from, whatever. She could have did whatever after we walked out of that place. And my anger cost her job. And I didn't know what could have happened because of that. You know what I mean? So I think we have to start to examine what are the thorns in our flesh that we carry that God has to, even if he doesn't take it away, how do we work through that? How do we walk with him and hold his hand while we're dealing with these things that need to be perfected only by him?
Yes, my daughter was looking really bad. Another thing with when it comes to transformation, especially with me, I avoid a lot of things, especially things that are really tough. And I also avoid things like I was telling Ella, we just actually had this conversation today. Avoid of responsibility and knowing who, like, I feel not so much as feel like I don't do wrong, but feel like I wasn't like I'm not flawed. And and I was telling, incident happened. Me and my son dropped my daughter off to a job, and me and him had a man-to-man talk. And, well, let me go back. The night before, found out some stuff, and then while I was in my sleep and whatnot, I guess it was still on my mind, fresh on my mind, and something said, "It's your fault." I was like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, it's your fault." And like, he is this way because of the, I guess, sins of me that I carried that was part of him. And doing some of the same similar things that I used to do when I was not so much as his age, but teenagery. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. Years before, I wouldn't even think about, like, nah. I just be like, nah, you just don't need to do that. You know how you being raised. You know who your parents be telling you what to do. But then to have to acknowledge, you know what? It's my fault. I planted those things and planted those seeds in you, and so I had to. So fast forward. So we about to watch the car, and I was talking to him. I said, "Son, I'm not mad at you. I apologize. I apologize for the things that you're going through, and certain things that we, as parents, we feel like, like, hey, we're telling you what to do, so you need to do it, but not understanding, like, hey, you doing this probably because I did it too. I keep looking at my phone, but it was on my notes that said transforming from avoidance to acknowledgement to action, and showing like the way we are doing certain stuff, especially within God, and be like, okay, these are the actions that I'm putting into you, and showing you like, hey, this ain't the way you should go. I'm trying to let's stop this early. Let's stop this whatever's going on with you early. So when you become 18, 21, 25 into your 30s, it won't be a problem. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes we have to acknowledge the faults and failures that we have done in the beginning before we had children, and then we pass those things along. So transforming, I said, transformation, for me is acknowledgement of the faults and the failures that we have experienced ourselves. I know this is a whole different part of it, but to understand those things and just to recognize like, hey, you know what? I can be better. I can do better. We like I want God to transform my mind and my thought process, and some of the things that I've done, and some of the ways that we talk, some of the ways that some of our actions, and just doing that. So maybe with the guy when he said it was raining, maybe that was a opportunity for him to be like, okay, whoa, let me slow down. Let me kind of think about what's going on. Maybe I'm missing out just being present. And maybe that's what God wants us to do, is to be present with him, so he can really work on that transformation within us, so we can be able to help disciple others, and maybe be able to transform other people.
Bear with me with what I'm about to say. I got a lot I've been storing up from what y'all are saying. You brought up Mr. Eldredge's situation, and that was about him doing a lot of movement, feeling like I can do this and I can do this, and missing that God is calling me to rest. God is calling me to do whatever. And so while it might be rest for some, for others it might be go, but God is always calling us to something. But that leads me to this: how do I know to follow God's voice if I don't know what it sounds like? So the fruit of the Spirit, there's a lot of things you can weigh yourself against and compare and contrast. But if you want to compare your life to where we should be, or where God has called us to be, to versus where we are, understand the fruit of the Spirit. We ain't got time to go into it, but understand the fruit of the Spirit. And I'm going to read what they are: love, peace, joy, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Those are all fruit of the Spirit. One Spirit, those are attributes that come from the Spirit. So, in all those things, there's always the opposite: love, hate; joy, pain; peace, turmoil or frustration or chaos; patience is always anxious. That's the opposite. Self-control, lack of discipline; faithfulness, unstable, disloyal; goodness, just always angry and bitter; gentle, too aggressive. There's always the opposite. So if we evaluate our actions, not in totality, literally one by one by one, by hour, by minute, by second, by day, where was I? What was I operating from the fruit of the Spirit? Or if you go a couple verses above in Galatians 5, it talks about what the flesh conceives. But why do I bring that up? Because if I don't know it, I don't know what to look at. I can't acknowledge it. You're 100% right. That acknowledgement has to happen. But if I don't know what to acknowledge, I can't sit there and say whether it's good or bad. It just is what it is. And that is when I say, this is just who I am. Well, this is who you are because you don't know that you are called to be better. Now, that goes to this other point. You said something earlier, and I wanted to add on to it. You said a lot of people don't cooperate for reasons, and you're 100%. I want to add, a lot of people aren't willing to cooperate.
Yeah.
And that is when it gets dangerous, because now I know, and I'm not willing to change. I'm not willing to transform. And it gets scary. There's a lot of reasons why people will not transform. They will not put themselves on that altar in that place of vulnerability, because they don't trust God's plan, or they don't know it. So, not the know it of the ignorance, but now the know of what is going to be the outcome. Mm-hmm. I don't know what this is going to be, so I know what I'm used to, and I can manage that. Even if I know it ain't good, I can manage that. I come from a family of this. I'm not saying it's mine, but I come from a family, we just argue, we just fight. And so I can deal with it. Or I come from a family of, or the situations of, I don't trust people. So I don't trust. You gotta earn my trust. I run. I move too quick. Whatever. And God is like, but I've called you to be more, but you rather stay where you at because it's comfortable. But you don't want, going back to the house, you don't want to hear the banging. And we think of a house being built up, but some things gotta tear down for that house to be built. There has to be a foundation breaking. And a lot of people don't want their core beliefs, their core foundation, their core experiences to be destructed so God can construct. So I'd rather stay in this place that I know is not beneficial, it is not productive, but it's what I know. And God is like, but I'm calling you to more. So that goes to the cooperation. Then his voice will start calling you to action. God is understanding of where we are. He ain't calling us to stay there. And we often start and stop with the whys of God. God, why this? Well, how come this and why that? Instead of trusting God is wise. So even if I don't know the reason, I trust the hand of the person. I trust them. I'm going to trust you. I'm going to be childlike. And then I'm going to find what you are taking me to. And it might be some times where I got to sit down and strap up and I can't go play around and run around the office. But there are times, like we talked about last time, where I'm at the Father's feet and I'm getting so much to where now my character starts to change. And there are times, I'm not going to lie, that you got to go through the mud because he's trying to take you to the smooth road. But if you just want to stay on the raggedy road, then you're going to get what you get. And nobody wants that. He don't want that.
If anybody tell you that it's not a sacrifice or it's not a laying down of the things that you used to, I'm going to tell you, be real, it's a lie. You're going to have to put some things down. You can't do this and want this. That's like trying to lose weight. You can't say you want to lose weight, but you over here eating Debbie cakes 24 hours a day and you don't eat no vegetables.
Exactly.
How that's going to work? So where in your life, I challenge everyone, in your life where you have to say, and I have to do this daily. If I have to say, make it make sense, I ain't doing it. Because at the point of I have to say, make it make sense, that's confusion. And the God that I serve is not confused, and he is not the author of confusion. So by me saying, make it make sense, it already don't make sense. So that's number one. You trying to make this make sense, and it ain't gonna make sense. So until you say, I'm gonna just move on out the way, and you got it. Until you do that, you know, it's certain things that have happened to me from last year to this year that I can't even tell you why it happened. There are things that I no longer do. I know that some people may be like, how all of a sudden you stop doing this? How all of a sudden now you doing this? Well, my answer to that is, honey, I don't know, but I know it's by the grace of God. I can't explain that. And I know we're talking about this, but I really want to challenge someone who can't hear, who doesn't know the voice. Don't get discouraged by those when you start being in that transformation, when they like, oh, you starting to act like this. Oh, you changing. You darn right I'm changing. Because something need to change. And if I'm the same way all the time and there's no growth, that's a problem. So when people say, oh, this person changing, you acting different. Listen, I ain't gonna sugarcoat it. It's time out for that. Whoever want to come along can come along, and whoever want to be in my life this season that want to act right and want to learn some things with me, because I ain't got it all together either, and I want people to go with me. But a lot of people won't go with you either. The people who you think that you want to go with you, sometimes they ain't gonna go with you. This is a transformation. It does not happen overnight. It does not. This ain't nothing I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
I'm telling you from experience. It is not an easy walk to sit here and feel like somebody playing in your face. It is not an easy walk to sit here and feel like I am changing, but I still want to be around them, but I don't want them to think that I'm changing. I'm done with that.
Yep.
You can think I'm changing, go talk to God.
And sometimes, and to piggyback on what you said, friend, not do it. I guess you could say do it scared, but but the word of God ain't scared, but scary. But it's just you, like you just have that experience, and you just be like, man, I really don't want to go back to this, but man, sometimes that stuff try to keep pulling us back to those old ways. It's like I remember when you was this way. I remember when you was this way, but that's not me now. And it's okay. And it's okay to sometimes just walk walk by yourself, but always know that somebody's always holding your hand.
Yeah. It's not cutting somebody off. I don't
Yeah.
want y'all to get to
Yeah.
the point that
Yeah.
I'm going to cut you off because you ain't doing it. I am not cutting anyone off. I'm going to still love because that's what God is doing in me. I'm to be that light. Why would I cut something off that I love? I
Right.
want you to see what I'm doing. It's just like a child. I just want you to see what I'm doing. That's all. I still love you.
Yeah. And you have to be, I think it's important for us to celebrate, not only cooperate, but celebrate our transformation as we see things occur and as we see God doing things. And I'm not talking about, go out and, you know, boast in yourself. I'm talking about even in our private time. God, I thank you for changing the way that I speak. I saw or I heard myself respond differently. I noticed, God, that I'm having a little bit more patience. I noticed that I have a little bit more compassion when somebody is rude to me. I'm thinking about what they might be going through versus how it's making me feel. I'm taking myself out of the equation more and I'm thinking about these are your people too. And I believe that it's important for us to celebrate our transformation because there are going to be people around you that say, "Oh, you acting different," or "Why y'all don't do this no more," or whatever it might be. But we can't let that get in our heads because that's another way that people talk you out of the grace that you're walking in, and that's going to be as long as we are walking this earth. There's going to be people around you who don't believe what you believe. They don't know this journey no matter how much you want them to be a part. Some people will have that refusal, but we have to maintain the joy of this walk because it's not always easy. It is laced with challenges and bumps and bruises and all those things, but I believe in celebrating as we go along, and that's a part of our praise unto God. Like, thank you for waking me up out of my slumber because the way I was walking, I was headed somewhere that wasn't good for me. And I'm as I'm talking about this, I'm thinking about this lady. I'm like, in that moment, could I have said to her, "What's going on?" Because I look back now and I realize we weren't even a problem. Something personal had to be going on with this woman that day because we didn't know her, she didn't know us. And I think about it now and I'm like, I would have been in the state that I'm in now, I would be bold to say, "What's going on? Is it something I can help you with?" Instead of taking it personal. So I think that knowing that God is working you and pulling you away from a response that you would normally give to something, that's worth celebrating and acknowledging. Like, God, you doing your thing. I see how you working in me. I see how I waited to respond when normally I'm on 10. I think it's just worth us taking a moment to celebrate what it is that God is doing in our lives, because you know you can't do it on your own. You know that that's not you, it's the inner working of the Holy Spirit working through you, that you're able to, because you're connected, and being always being connected to the Word, constantly training and renewing your mind by reading these words, because there's no other way that you're going to know how to operate in the fruits of the Spirit. If you don't know the character of God, if you don't know the character of the Holy Spirit, you ain't gonna be able to operate in that. So you got to read His Word, and you got to get around some people who's modeling that behavior. Like I like that in our relationship, we recently said that I permit you to correct me. Sometimes you got to verbally say, like, hey, if I'm off track, if I'm out of pocket, correct me. If I'm not looking like Christ, tell me. If I'm not talking like Him, tell me. Because I need to be around people who aren't afraid to say, get it together. What you said, what you thinking, what you doing, that's not right. And you got to get around people that's willing to do that.
Thank y'all for tuning in with City on the Hill this week.
Before we go, I just want to let y'all know I have a book coming out April 28th called Journey to Joy, Overcoming Fear and Releasing Control to Experience the Abundance of Life. I do ask that y'all go and support. More than anything, support us, the City on the Hill, by liking, sharing, and subscribing. So, till next time, be the light.
Be the light, guys.